Hello everybody, Jock12 back here again with another video, and I'm here with another top 5 list. Yes, it's that time of the week again, so let's get into this week's top 5 list. Of course, BVS is right around the corner, and of course, if you've been aware of my channel for some time now, then you would know for the past year or so I've been dedicating specific top 5s to the release date of BVS, and of course we're just that much closer, so the hype is real. But with that being said, last time I gave you my top 5 Batman voice actors list. This week I'm going to give you my top 5 Superman voice actors. These are the actors who have voiced Superman in the multiple Superman cartoons, Superman movies, and of course other Superman appearances in the animated DC universe. Of course, this is my personal list. It's subjective. It's my my personal list, my personal thoughts. So, of course, in the comment section below, let me know what your personal list is of the top 5 Superman voice actors. The actors who have voiced Superman, who you think have defined said role in the animated universes. But with that being said and done, let's get into this top 5 list. Coming up at number 5 has to go to Bud Collyer. Now, of course, Bud voiced Superman during the Fletcher cartoon series, of course, the 40s Superman. He also voiced Superman through radio and stuff. He was like one of the very early voice actors to voice the character Superman. And for me personally, my first real introductions to Superman was very specific. It was kind of similar to my first introduction to Batman. It was through specific cartoons, specific comic books, and specific movies. For Batman, it was Batman Genesis, the animated series, and of course the Michael Keaton Batmans. For Superman, it was the Christopher Reeve Superman, of course, Man of Steel Superman comics, and of course the Superman animated series, and this specific series as well, which were the Fletcher cartoons. The Fletcher cartoons obviously are very dated, but they were the first real legitimate cartoons to really define Superman and do justice to said Superman character of the comic books in that specific era. And of course, Bud did an amazing job. I thought his Clark Kent was awesome. It was definitely on par, and his Superman was beautiful. But with that being said and done, moving off of that, going to number 4 on this list has to go to Mark Valley. Now, of course, Mark Valley voiced the character Superman through Dark Knight Returns, the animated features, Part 1 and Part 2. And in Part 2, we got to see the iconic fight that is Batman versus Superman, which is, of course, the basis of BVS Dawn of Justice. And for me personally, I know a lot of people have their various differences and opinions when it comes to Frank Miller's version of Superman. For me personally, I'm not the biggest hardcore Superman fanboy, so of course I'm not going to sit here and bitch about like, oh, Frank Miller doesn't know Superman. His Superman is bullshit. It's like, regardless of any of that, the voices were awesome. Regardless of the comic book, and you look at the actual animated freaking movies, the voice talent was on par. It was phenomenal. I mean, like, say what you will about the comic book series itself, and that version of Superman, the voices were awesome, and Mark Valley was incredible as Superman. Granted, his version of Superman has to be this very idealistic version of Superman. He's Big Blue, he's the big Boy Scout, he is the guy who does what he's told based on what the President and the United States says, because he is big, Good Morning America, big USA kind of a character, and that's where Batman has problems with him, of course, which is the basis of the main conflict in Dark Knight Returns. But with that being said, Mark Valley did an awesome job as Superman. I think his voice was just perfect for that version of Superman. I just loved how he just put so much into his talent. It came right through with his voicing of the said character, Superman. And plus, with that being said, the entire cast was awesome. I mean, I don't know if she gets enough credit, but Andrea Romano, who is the casting director and voice director of the DC Universe, is phenomenal, and the talent she gets is great. And The Dark Knight Returns, Part 1 and Part 2 are definitions of that. I mean, Peter Weller, just phenomenal as Batman, and Mark Valley was great as Superman, and he's my personal favorite, so that's just me, but let me know what you personally think about that. But moving off of that, and going to number 3 on this list has to go to Nolan North. Now, I might be actually breaking my own rules to a certain extent, but Nolan North actually voiced Superboy in the Young Justice series, which of course is one of the greatest animated DC series of all time, which of course I really hope that they get their season 3 now that it's on Netflix or what have you, but we'll see what happens on that front. But overall, Nolan North killed it as Superboy. He was amazing. Now, granted, this is a Superman voice actors list. Ironically enough, Nolan North not only did the voice of Superboy, but also did the voice of Superman. So, and also, if you think about it in the context of said show, Superboy is a clone of Superman, so, you know, it counts. At least in my eyes, it counts. And plus, come on, Young Justice is awesome, the series and story was badass, and Nolan North was just phenomenal as Superboy, and he did a great job with Superman. So if you put those two together, it's just an awesome package of great voice talent. But with that being said and done, moving off of that and going to number 2 on this list has to go to George Newbern, who of course voiced Superman in the Justice League cartoons and of course in the multiple Justice League and Superman video games. Now, for me personally, George Newbern had to fill a lot of big shoes when he came into his version of Superman, specifically when it came to the Paul Dini and Bruce Timm universe. And with this new version of Superman, it had to fit in a Justice League world, which was much more grander scale than the Batman animated series and the Superman animated series and the other little tiny mini series that they developed in between, like Batman Beyond and Static Shock and so on and so forth. But George Newbern did an awesome job. He is a phenomenal Superman voice talent, and Justice League animated series is right up there with Young Justice, Superman, and Batman, the animated series. It's just so freaking great, and he's just so good. I'm just saying, he is just freaking awesome as Superman. His voice really defines that version of Superman, which is supposed to be the leader and co-founder of said Justice League. So, but with that being said and done, I'm going to skip the honorable mentions, but, you know, there's still so many other great actors who have voiced Superman and solo standings and in video games and like movies and so on and so forth, so I don't want to take away from them, but I'm going to skip it right now because I'm in a time restraint, if you will, and get to my number 1 pick, which has to go to, ironically enough, Tim Daly. Tim Daly was my first real introduction, along with Christopher Reeve and of course the Fletcher cartoons, as to my introduction to Superman. And Tim Daly will always be very similar to Kevin Conroy as the definitive voice of Superman. He is the definitive voice of this character. For me personally, when I hear Superman, it's Tim Daly's voice. It's just so freaking great. He put a lot of just amazing talent that he has as an actor into this specific role of Superman, which of course is very hard to do because of how iconic the character is and how specific the character is played out in both cartoons, comic books, and movies. But his version of Superman is hands down as valid, or maybe even more valid, than the movies themselves. But with that being said and done, this is pretty much my top 5 list. I hope everybody's enjoyed. It's my personal list, my personal thoughts. Of course, it's all subjective, but let me know what your personal top 5 list of these Superman voice actors are in the comment section below. Let me know what you personally think about mine, and let me know yours. But with that being said, shameless plug time. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jonch12. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and of course, on the week of BVS Dawn of Justice, the release date of said movie, that will be my last top 5 dedicated to BVS Dawn of Justice. So, hope you guys be on the lookout for that. But with that being said and done, this has been Jonch12. I hope you guys enjoyed.